It's Scott Sloan here, News Radio 700 WLW. All right, issues involving your money and your car. Two very important things. U.S. District Court here in Cincinnati, a lawsuit has been filed by 4 motorists. And these 4 motorists each got hit with an $85 speeding ticket through New Richmond. What New Richmond did is they put up 2 cameras, I think they're fixed cameras, by the way, on Route 52. Under the guise that, well, we've had a lot of accidents on 52. We want to try and stop that, so we want to go after speeders on Route 52. Fair enough. They put the cameras up, didn't get permission from the state, and that's the basis for the lawsuit. But the bigger question is, how does this affect you? And on that, on the AcuteHearingCenters.com hotline is our own Mike Allen. Does Saturday midday from starting at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings, obviously, and also in private practice attorney, former Hamilton County prosecutor. Mike, good morning.
Hey, how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing fine. You've represented a lot of people in these cases since Sloan's Law was enacted, even before Sloan's Law was enacted, and in trying to get money back from folks and representing the motorists and people's rights and fighting the man here in this case. Are you repping the individuals here from New Richmond?
No, I'm not. This lawsuit, I just had a chance to read it over, was filed by Mark Dan, who's a former Ohio Attorney General, lawyer out of Cleveland. He filed it last week.
Okay, so what are the merits of it? Discuss with me what the issue is here, other than they didn't get permission. Is that more of a technicality than anything?
Well, you know what? That's a good question, and I don't know that I know the answer completely. It's obviously problematic, and that is pretty much the basis of the lawsuit. It's on, like the lawsuits that we filed that are still pending against New Miami up in Butler County and Elmwood here in Hamilton County. It's a claim of lack of due process, which, I mean, the whole speed camera scheme, I think, just reeks of a lack of due process. But he is making, as a centerpiece of the lawsuit, the fact that, and it's all documented, it's clearly documented through letters, that they need ODOT's permission to put those things up in their right-of-way. They didn't get it, and ODOT told them twice not to do it, and they did it anyway.
Because they control the roads, not the local municipality.
Exactly.
Because it's a U.S. route. It's U.S. 52.
It is, but I don't know how those things work jurisdictionally, but ODOT has some kind of jurisdiction on it, and, the letters, and they're attached as exhibits to the complaint. They couldn't be more clear from the Ohio Department of Transportation. Don't put your damn speed cameras there, Mm-hmm. So I think Mark Dan's got a winner here. But on a bigger note, I mean, as far as these speed cameras goes, Sloan, there's a guy out there in Claremont County, a guy named Chris Hicks. He's going to be circulating petitions, and I had Chris on my show a couple Saturdays ago. He's going to be circulating petitions to actually get a constitutional amendment on the state ballot. I'm not sure which election, probably the next election coming up. Yeah. A constitutional amendment to get rid of these darn things once and for all. So he's going to be out at the New Richmond River Days this weekend, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, to try to get rid of these things by that method.
Well, we'll try to reach out and maybe get him on the show, because I want to get that word out for sure. I think these things are stupid, but seemingly we fix this, and I get the fix for this thing, the repair or the remedy, legal remedy, was that, all right, you can put the cameras up, but you got to have a cop monitor everything in real time and then sign off on it. And that's what the law is right now, and that passes legal scrutiny, because I could then show up in court, have the officer show up and say, okay, I'm with Mr. Sloan driving 85 and a 65, and I wrote him a ticket, and here's the image of the license plate. Was this you driving or not? And I look at it and go, it was me driving, or it wasn't me driving. Now, if I did that in court, though, and I said that wasn't me driving the car, my wife was driving the car, or, I let a buddy drive my car this weekend, what happens then?
Well, and it's stated.
Because I could then show up in court, have the officer show up and say, okay, I'm with Mr. Sloan driving 85 and a 65, and I wrote him a ticket, and here's the image of the license plate. Was this you driving or not? And I look at it and go, it was me driving, or it wasn't me driving. Now, if I did that in court, though, and I said that wasn't me driving the car, my wife was driving the car, or, I let a buddy drive my car this weekend, what happens then?
Well, and it's stated right on the ticket here, the back of the ticket, that they have as exhibits. What you have to do then is to provide a an affidavit saying that I was not the driver, and they ask you to dime out who the driver was. And as we have pointed out in our lawsuits, a lot of times the family car will be in either the wife's name or the husband's name. So then you're in a position where you got to dime out your husband or wife, which runs afoul of the marital privilege statute.
Yes.
So it's flawed in so many ways.
Well, plus there's a burden of proof issue there, isn't it? I mean, the state has to prove the guilt of the person. You don't have to prove your defense; they have to prove you guilty. If they can't do that, that's how the Constitution's written.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it is with traditional laser and radar enforcement. But in these things, I mean, they're civil, they're not criminal. But in these things, you're right. I mean, as a general principle, you are guilty until proven innocent. And, you know, I mean, one of these things shows up in your mail, and, you know, you look at it. I wasn't driving a New Richmond that day. You know, you got to find out who was driving your car. You got to find a notary public to get the affidavit, and that's not right.
No.
I mean, that is just, and it's un-American, and
it really
that's
is.
why we need a constitutional amendment to finally drive the final stake through the heart of these things.
I hope so, because the burden of proof is on the accuser, not the defendant. I don't have to prove that was me behind the wheel. You have to prove it wasn't me behind the wheel, or vice versa, but that's ultimately the flaw here too. And then they're putting up cameras on US 52, which is a federal road, US 52. However, we know that ODOT or any state is responsible for the maintenance, right? The clearing of the snow, the cutting of the grass and the median maintenance, things like that, because the money comes from the feds. It's federal highway, but it's spent and administered by the state of Ohio. So the state of Ohio decides what goes and what stays from the interpretation from the federal government. Local municipalities have no business, not only, I would say, patrolling those roads, but especially enforcing speed along those roads with fixed cameras.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think that's why the Ohio Department of Transportation kind of jealously guards their jurisdiction on those things. And like I said, these letters could not be more, they couldn't be more clear. There's no interpretation. It's don't put your speed cameras on ODOT right away. And the village decided to do it anyway. They wrote, according to one newspaper account, I think about 621 tickets in 1 month, and the penalty's $85. Now, by my elder math, that would be the penalty's $85 if it's 6 or 15 miles per hour over. That's $52,000 in the village's coffers in 1 month. Right. And they're going to sit there and tell, "Oh no, it's not about revenue; it's about public safety."
Never about revenue,
which is just garbage.
It's completely
is.
It is, and that's the thing is, I get it. If a cop is there and looking at the camera and sees me and IDs me, I don't have a problem with that. I speed, I broke the law, right. I get nailed, I pay the ticket. This weekend, I'm out driving with my wife. Beautiful weekend, and there's a big intersection near where I live, and I'm making a right-hand turn, and I see traffic is down, I don't know, maybe a good few hundred yards. I'm like, I got this. So I didn't make a complete right turn. Stop at a right turn, and I accelerated because I was far ahead of the traffic. Nothing was coming, but I could see the way the lights were timed. Traffic's pretty far away. So I get out there, and sure enough, one of the people there is a police officer, and a guy lights me up. I'm like, all right, well, if I get a ticket, it's my stupidity, because I was out enjoying the day. And the officer was really nice, polite, ran my ID, licensed the whole thing. He said, "I'll just let you out with a verbal." He says, "Yeah, listen, slow down, take it easy, make a complete stop." I said, "I know, but I had plenty of room." He goes, "I know, but that's the law. What do you want me to do?" So I shook the guy's hand, and I get it. But if I would have got cited for that, it would have been me. I don't blame the cop. But there's enough instances where police officers can write you up for doing stupid stuff or breaking the law behind the wheel of a car. Do we really need this kind of enforcement in the guise of public safety? How many lives are you saving with these cameras?
You don't. And if you want to do that, and if it truly is about public safety, put a police officer out there with a laser or radar unit. Mm-hmm. And the important thing about what you just said is, I've gotten speeding tickets too, and I've just paid them. But if I do think I was cited unfairly, I have an opportunity to get a real hearing before a real judge. And, that police officer's got to be there and raise his hand to God and testify that what he's saying is true, and what he's saying is that I said it was my car. I'm the one that did it. And that's pretty much basic constitutional, the American way type thing, in my opinion.
Mike, one of the other elements of this thing too, and we've talked about this in the past, is typically these citations you get are not criminal; they're civil. Is that the workaround here? And does it matter?
It is the workaround here. I think that's at the basis of it, because if it's a violation of a state traffic ordinance, you'd have to go into municipal court. Now, there is some change in the legislation that somehow I think they're trying to get them to go into municipal court. I think specifically Claremont County's doing that now. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing, they tried, to get around these things any way they possibly can, and that's why I think we need something like a constitutional amendment to just finally get rid of them once and for all.
Yeah, and I'm fine with them trying to leverage technology, because our police departments, like a lot of areas, are woefully underfunded in many municipalities, and they need a little bit of a way to increase their presence. I'm not against technology at all. I'm against when you violate my constitutional rights. That's a different matter entirely for anyone listening, and a lot of people see this as unfair, especially when they worm it through as a civil remedy, which anytime you go through a red light, my instance this weekend, that was a criminal violation. That was a criminal citation that I would have gotten had I instead of gotten a warning. However, when you make it a civil issue, that's something entirely. Meaning, well, it's not part of your criminal record, but if you don't pay the bill, then they can come after you with your credit scores and things like that, your insurance company and the like. And I don't understand how that's illegal. If you broke a criminal law, because it's convenient for them, how do they just make it a civil violation if it's a police enforcement issue?
Yeah, well, they work around it, so they don't have to go into real court, and it doesn't have to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why they do it. I mean, they wouldn't want these things in the Hamilton County Municipal Court. I mean, they just wouldn't, because that way, they couldn't just kind of sit back and let their vendor, in this case, in New Richmond, it's an outfit called Data Ticket, and just let the money roll in, and they split it with the vendor. It's easy this way for the municipality.
Well, I guess the way let me reword the question here. I'm not sure how I wanted to say this, but I guess it's more along like this. Can you name me another area of, and I'm honestly asking, I don't know. Can you name another area of law where you break, it's a criminal penalty, but so what you do is you violate criminal law, okay? But the government, the same agency that creates and enforces criminal law, says, you know what, it's a civil matter instead. How many criminal laws can you break where the remedy is done in civil court as opposed to criminal court?
None that I know of. I know there were some municipalities a while back that were trying to decriminalize, all their misdemeanor offenses, obviously in a money grab and in order to get money. And I get that these villages and, municipalities are hurting. I understand that. Yeah. But you don't balance your budget on the back of motorists that come through your village. It's just not the right thing to do.
I remember I forget what area it was years ago before we got Sloaney's Law done with your efforts and lawsuits, but also lawmakers like Bill Seitz. In Sloaney's Law came about, and here we are, 6-7 years later, we're still debating it to the point where maybe it's a constitutional amendment. But I remember having officers on and asking them about this thing and saying, yeah, well, we don't nail anybody for a couple miles over the speed limit. You've got to be cooking in order to get one of these tickets. And sure enough, I get PDFs, people sending me images and email of tickets that they received from places like New Miami and New Richmond and others, where they were literally 3 miles over the speed limit and getting a citation.
Yeah, that happened a lot at first, but the municipalities that we were dealing with, they kind of got a little bit better with that, and most of them would give them 10, 5 to 10, even more, some of them miles per hour over. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, you're still going to get, like I said, New Richmond in 1 month, about 620-something citations. I mean, they're going to make their money. And what kills me is, like I said, when they stand up and say, oh, we don't care about the money, it's all about public safety. Let me just take a second. The vendor that New Richmond is using is an outfit called Data Ticket Incorporated. I'm on their website now. Here's what it says, right in front. It goes, we help cities, counties, universities, colleges, and other agencies with records management and payment collection on outstanding debt. A California company serving our clients since 1989. We work with our clients to tailor solutions to meet their specific needs. Reach out and see how we can help. Now, did you hear anything in there about public safety?
Nothing.
You know? It's not even close.
It's absurd. I mean, because you don't have any skin in the game. You let them put the cameras up, they get a cut, they make some money, which is America, but you wind up filling your coffers. And the other interesting thing, Mike, is I don't see cameras like this in areas like Indian Hill, Mason, Anderson. I don't see it in areas that are thriving. I see these things in areas that have been marginalized because, and I get it, the state of Ohio years ago cut off the spigot of funds that we send in our taxes to Columbus. They're not coming back to us. Governor Kasich at the time used that to try and balance the budget to make himself look good because he wanted to be the next president of the United States, and he did so on the backs of local municipalities who got their supply of state money turned off, and this was their remedy. I get it because they have to exist, they have to subside, but at least do it in fair terms. Don't do it on the backs of people who are driving through, which is, I guess, why that's tolerable for people who live in New Richmond going, hey, you know what? I know where the speed traps are, but the out-of-towners don't. And that's why I guess former AG Dan is the one who's repping these people out of Cleveland because they didn't know.
Yeah, you're right, and I didn't see this coming, but kudos to Mark Dan for doing it.
Yeah.
And, the guy I told you about, Chris Hicks, has done a lot of research on this. There is some actual communication, public record communication, that he got his hands on where somebody in the village of New Richmond actually made a statement that, hey, we put the speed cameras here, it's going to nail people, not from the village of New Richmond, and, so therefore,
gotcha.
They're not going to
right. Tax people out. Hey, real quick, because I'm really running late here, but because I know a lot of people are hearing this going, okay, if I get one of these tickets, should I pay it? It's civil. What do you do?
I wouldn't pay it. The
Just
first thing I'd do is I'd contact Mark Dan. But I do need to say that I believe that they're shut down now. They shut down.
You're right. They are.
Yeah, they're waiting to find out the legislation that Bill Seitz passed, which was masterful. That okay, New Richmond, you get $5,000 a month from speed camera tickets. We're going to deduct that from what you get from us. That Dayton up there, the city of Dayton. They're going to challenge it, and they get like $2 million.
Right, because it's about public safety. It's not a money issue. Remember? Anyway, Mike Allen, thanks again, brother. Appreciate it as always.
Okay.
All right, Mike Allen, midday Saturday morning at 9 from the AcuteHearingCenters.com hotline, 700 WLW.